Hey everybody, we're just letting a few more of the attendees come in. So we'll be back just in a minute or so and we'll get started. All right, it looks like we've kind of plateaued here. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're excited to do a little presentation today to give you an update on Riverbank Landing. My name is Rob Brasso. I'll be acting as the moderator tonight. I'll be in the background. The schedule or the agenda for this evening will be a presentation from Dave Hout, and then we will open it up to questions and have a period to ask questions to Dave, and then we'll be closing. So we'll be trying to keep it to an hour, ending sometime around 8 o'clock. The chat has been disabled, so we'll give you instructions after the presentation on how you can ask your question. All right. So panelist today is Dave Hout with Boudreaux, and he will also be providing the presentation. So I think we can go right into the presentation at this time, Dave.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm just going to take a sec to get this up. I've done my best to keep the presentation fresh from the last time. But I haven't done my screen share right. Let's try this way. All right. I think that is up and running there. So welcome to the second public meeting for our reapplication for Riverbank Landing. Over the last 4 months, we've been gathering a lot of community input through all sorts of various ways to reshape our rezoning application and area structure plan amendment that we are going to be submitting to the city. So a couple sort of legal notes to get covered here tonight: that this event will be recorded and is subject to the Freedom of Information, Protection of Privacy requests. We're also going to put this up on our website. We can usually get it done within the next day, but for sure 2 days. So you'll be able to view it on the website through YouTube or whatever other means. Our reapplication proposal will include an amendment to the Oakmont Area Structure Plan, or ASP, and the zoning. And the zoning amendment would go from direct control commercial and direct control low density residential to direct control mixed use. And while what we're presenting tonight will form the basis of our reapplication to the city, we're always interested in hearing feedback on ways that we can improve, things that we've missed, changes you'd like to see, number of opportunities for feedback. Obviously, there'll be the question and answer period at the end of the meeting today. There you can email me directly. My email's on the screen. There's also an email button on our website, which is riverbanklanding.com. It always likes to skip that screen for some reason. So where are we in the rezoning application? So in June, the original application got turned down. We did a public participation meeting in October. We're now at the beginning of November, and we're just getting ready to submit our formal application. Hope to have that in within the next 7 days. From that point, the city goes through a number of technical reviews and a number of reports that are submitted to that, a lot of questions back and forth, and they prepare a document to go for council. All through that period, we are open for public input, both myself and council members, city zoning and planning departments. Council, go to council. I don't really know. I suspect early in the new year, and you'll have lots of notice there, and we'll go through the traditional 3 readings. So the first reading is whether they hear the application or not, and then typically readings 2 and 3 are on the merits of the application and either approval or denial of the application. Following that, we apply for the development permit. We have quite a professional consulting team with us, everybody from ARC planning to Bunt Traffic, Associated Engineering, IBI, some of the real professionals in the industry. And we're very pleased to be able to work with them. And the Riverbank Landing site is located next to the Shops of Boudreaux, between the Shops of Boudreaux and Botanica and the Oakmont and Erin Ridge communities. We'll be getting to the new stuff here. I just need to cover a little bit of stuff in case people missed the last meeting. So the current area structure plan layout based on low density residential and commercial zoning. So C2, general commercial, allows things like general retail, convenience stores, health services. It has discretionary uses for things such as a hotel or a shopping center, at a maximum height of 15 meters. 300 Orchard Court is R2 or low density residential. It would allow for things like 84 duplex units, single family homes, and has a maximum height of 11 meters. At Riverbank Landing, there's a number of development concepts that we like to use when we look at bringing this concept forward. And on Riverbank, we just feel it's an ideal site for that mixed use community where you have the small boutique shop, and it's supported by quite a diverse use or mix of residential units. Everything from townhomes to microlofts to condominium units. We really want to create that live, work, play community with the services that you need right at your doorstep. And we have a high dedication to quality. So as we've been gathering feedback over the last 4 months, some common themes are coming forward. So common concerns, number one, far and away is traffic. There's no question there. Height, protection of the river valley, shadow management, how much green space, noise, both through construction and when it's done, density, and how affordable is the project. Amenities that people would like to see is extension of the trail system on the north side of the river and connecting to the Red Willow Trail system. Green space and patio areas, pet-friendly areas. That's a new one that seems to be coming and gaining a lot of popularity. People generally embrace the mix of commercial and residential uses. And I think that's a trend we're seeing grow, not only in Canada, but really right across the world. We've had a request for some larger housing units. Seniors housing is always high on the list. And then the outdoor activity and amenity areas. So changes we've made since our original application to our last public meeting is we reduced the height by 50%, reduced the suite count by about 20%, reduced the commercial space by about 20 to 35%. We've increased the setbacks, and we've been a lot more mindful of putting the heights in the center of the site where they impact the fewest amount of people. So at the last meeting, we introduced what we refer to as the L-shaped building. And there's a lot of nice things about this building. It has a lot of architectural interest. There's some benefits, but we opened it up to comments from the community. And we felt that as we heard back from the community, there's things that they liked, like the trail system and the innovative design, the green space, the patio areas, the seniors living, and the mix of commercial and residential. And the things they didn't like, and that was the density and walling off the river. That was a pretty big one that we heard quite a few times, is even though the building stepped down, it was still too much mass right on the river. We also heard that there wanted to be more certainty on exactly where things are going to be built on the site, so that a tower doesn't end up right next to single family residential. The shadow traffic, the better transition to single family homes, construction timeline, and then there was a number of people that really just opposed any change to the area structure plan whatsoever. So we thought to ourselves, how can we keep the good ideas and address the portions of the site that people would like to see improved? We still think the direct control mixed use zoning is the best zoning tool we have available. There's a few others. They all have their pluses and minuses, but amendment to the direct control with a height overlay that restricts where you can put the height of the buildings, we feel is the best to guarantee some certainty on what's going to be built on this site. So density, we're still sitting at a site density of 360 units. At the last meeting, it was 360 to 390, committed to 360 at that. And we're working at that cap and a minimum 6% commercial. And that's the language in the zoning is the commercial is at a minimum. So it could be a little bit more than that. So some of the things we've changed since the last meeting then is we've heard that we'd like to see better transition to single family, certainty on where the heights are going to be, and they don't want so much height along the edge of the river. So we've adjusted the height schedule. So this controls in what areas of the building or the site, how high you can build. We've added an extra level in this. So we're starting here in this piece, right up against Orchard Court, and we have that at 15 meters. So Orchard Court is 11 meters, and this was a 3 meter sort of an increase in the height as we go across to the site. Moving to the left of the site, this white area is a portion that is at 20 meters. 20 meters is about, kind of about 5 stories. And then that's the tallest we can build in there. Then moving along next to the river, we have an area here that is 25 meters. On the previous version, I believe that was 33 meters. So we've dropped that some. Now, the site has quite a bit of topography sloping to the river here. It's about a 6 meter change. Whoops. So all these heights are measured from the very lowest part of the building up until the top roof. So that's 25 meters. This hatched area here is at 40 meters or 11 stories, roughly 10, 11 stories. And then the final dark portion is at 50 meters. So this accomplishes a few things. It gives certainty on where the height's going to be, and adding another layer, we believe, guarantees that the site's not going to be developed as sort of this flat mass, that it is going to have architectural interest. Here is the new site plan that we've come up with. So Botanica is here at the bottom left-hand corner. And we have building 1, which is the restaurant. And that pretty much stays the same and is our previous proposals. At this point, it's a 1-story. Moving along to building 2, we have 50 meters or roughly 15 stories. There, and that will be condominium units. And then we have a lower pedestal. So it's a 3-story podium, but because of the site topography, it is 5 stories on the riverside. And it is set back, and we'll go to the setbacks in a little bit. And set back there, we continue to have our village square. And then we have building 3. We've made this into a seniors building, 3 stories, with some townhomes attached to it, but more dedicated to a 55 plus clientele. And they can participate in the services that we get along the site. And moving across to building 4, that is the 40 meter height there. And that one's the more traditional condominium with main floor retail and a 3-story podium. So that'd be 1 level of retail and services, and then some micro-loft units above that. And building 5 is the 20 meters, 5-story. It has a professional building. One of the things that we're very pleased on this site is the site coverage and the amount of green space that is in it. So 28% on this new plan is covered with building. A whopping 48% is public access green space, natural areas. And that's just huge. for a 10-acre site. It's a lot of green space. As with the previous proposals, there's extensive underground parking. We're not seeking any parking relaxations with our application. We've committed to retaining the perimeter green space. And the public walkways, park seating, and activity areas remain. You know, a lot of people express concern on the setbacks that are around the building. So this area here on the bottom is the river, and the blue line is the edge of the river. And then next to the river is the environmental reserve. So that's obviously the area that nobody is allowed to build in. Next to that, there's another parcel that we do not own. It's, I believe it's designated as a utility corridor, but it's not something that we would use or have any access or disturb whatsoever. So it has the effect of just basically distancing the site back from the river. And then we have our top of bank mark here. And the property line kind of follows that. And then further from the top of bank, we have setbacks to the edge of the building. So they vary from 14.5 meters at the closest point here, up to about 17 meters over on this way. So we are back from the river a good ways, about 140 feet to 216 feet. Then moving along to the east side of the site, we have increased the setbacks over standard zoning requirements. So it's at 9 meters. Are 29 feet from the Oakmont community. And then as it goes up against the roll, we go to 7 meters and around here to the commercial site. So the site has generous setbacks. That'll allow us to retain as many of those perimeter trees as possible, and also pulls us way back from the river. We're really passionate about bringing a lot of life to the river. We want to see that four-season use, gazebo, seating areas, a spot for a food truck to come and park. We want to see some amenities on the walking trails, and it just adds vibrancy and life to the site and a reason for the grandkids to come visit. So this is a, I'm going to call it a massing drawing of our revised site plan. The finishes are going to be quite a bit higher level than this, but this will give you a very good idea of both the mass. It is to scale, and you'll see Botanica blocked out here to scale as well in the homes, and some of the articulation and step backs that we're including. So you'll see you come up to the river, and then this is the setbacks that we were talking about on our property. And we go to the podium of the building, and the building has a lot of articulation. It's 3 stories long, and then it peels back and does a very nice terraced area here, as well as terracing over to the east. Rooftop patio and garden area for the bulk of it, adding a lot of green space to it. And then we go to our tower. So this is the portion here that's allowed to be 50 meters. And then we drop back to the lower portion here, which I believe was 25 meters from memory. And then we go to the area that is 15 meters. So the restaurant, and then we have our roughly 15-story, but 50-meter condominium, dropping down to a pedestal along the river. Our village square will allow the food trucks and the four-season gazebo area. And then we go to the seniors building, which is at 15 meters. And that will have some main floor commercial to it or activity areas for the seniors. And then go to a townhome area for the 55 plus. Moving across from the traffic circle, we have the 40-meter high portion, or kind of 11 stories. That will be condominium units with main floor commercial, then dropping down to the podium, and that's main floor commercial with microloft units above, and then the 5-story professional building is in behind there. You can only see a little portion of it on this view. We're very excited to be able to keep the village square and all that outdoor accessible social gathering space, and just inviting the public in to participate in the river. Our sun shadow study, so shadow was another of the major concerns. We really worked hard with this design to incorporate keeping the shadow on site. We're very strategic in where we place the buildings, height of buildings, and even stepping them as they go up to reduce the shadow impact. So to accomplish that, we've 3D modeled the entire community. So this is not just artist renderings. They've taken the ground plane, they've calculated the heights, they've put in where there's 2-story buildings and 1-story buildings in Botanica and the shops, and then they've added the height of the building straight from AutoCAD in there. So this is a very, very realistic study of the shadows on the ground plane and how they affect the entire community. As we did with our previous proposal, we are going to have the complete movie available. It'll come out here shortly. So you'll be able to see at equinox and solstice, you'll be able to stop it at any time of day and see the impact of the shadow really throughout the whole community. At this stage, we simply have the standard shadow impact studies available for our application, and we will go through those now. So what we do is we do a differential shadow study. So you will see that the site outline is in, I don't know, turquoise, blue. On-site shadows remain gray. Off-site shadows are in yellow, unless there are existing shadows there. So existing shadows are in gray, and new shadows are in yellow. So it's a differential shadow study. And this is at spring and autumn equinox. And this is our 9 a.m. shadow. And move across to the 12 p.m. shadow. It's just spilling onto the road there a little bit. And our 3 p.m. shadow. And spring and autumn equinox, that is contained completely on site. And then moving to summer solstice, our 9 a.m. shadow is a little bit on the road. Our 12 p.m. shadow is contained completely on site. And the 3 p.m. shadow as well. And then the winter, the standard times at 9 a.m., it's quite dark. At 12 p.m., you have the differential shadow spilling onto the road and a little bit of Erin Ridge. And the 3 p.m. shadow you can see moving over here in the Oakmont area. And again, this shadow study will be available on the website, both this study and the full video. Traffic obviously is a major concern. It's one of the big ones. So we've hired Bunton Associates to do a complete traffic study based on the new layout and the massing, and they have made the following observations and recommendations. And they've observed that the number of movements or vehicles are approaching or are at overcapacity on the Boudreaux Road, Belrose Drive intersection during the AM and PM peak hours, based on the existing, as well as the 2034, which is a date that they model out to, the background traffic volumes. The operations of the Evergreen Drive Boudreaux intersection may be impacted by the southbound queues at Boudreaux Road and Belrose Drive intersections, and that it's necessary to improve the operations at that intersection. They have advanced the following recommendations. That we add a shared left through lane to the north approach of Boudreaux Road and Belrose Drive intersection. Reconfigure the signal times to include split phasing on the north and south approaches to avoid interlocking left turns and movements. Extend the existing southbound left turn bay at Boudreaux Road and Belrose Drive intersections to provide additional queuing space, and to develop a northbound right turn bay to improve existing operations of the northbound right turn movements at Boudreaux Road, Belrose Drive intersection. These improvements, once made to the Boudreaux Road, Belrose Drive intersections, including the addition of the shared south-left turn through lane and a northbound right turn bay, are anticipated to increase capacity and improve the intersection operations. Boudreaux Road, Belrose Drive intersections are projected to operate under capacity with overall intersection operations of level of service or loss at a D level based on the 2034 total traffic volumes. And I'll explain the ratings in a minute. A low average delay merits the level of service or loss A rating. Average delays greater than 80 seconds per vehicle at a signalized intersection generally produces a loss or level of service F rating. The City of St. Albert's design threshold is a loss D for intersections, with a level of service E considered acceptable for individual movements such as left-hand turn lanes. So we asked Bunt to compare the traffic that comes through under the current area structure plan based on straight C2 zoning with no discretionary uses, and then low density residential. And their analysis on the left-hand side of the screen. And we've asked them to compare it to our proposal with Riverbank Landing. So under the current area structure plan, the AM peak trips are 340 in and 158 out. PM trips are 305 in, 501 out. Compared that to our area structure plan amendment in our application, the AM peak trips are 175 in and 192 out, for a total of 131 less trips. The PM peak trips are 261 in, 252 out, or 293 less trips. Bunt calculated that the proposed development is projected to generate between 30% to 50% fewer trips than if it was developed with commercial C2 and low density residential, as in the current area structure plan. This complete report will be part of our submission and will be available for your review. Construction phasing was another concern. How long is the project going to take? How are we going to manage construction flow? Where are the workers going to park? It's anticipated to be roughly a 5-year development done in, well, 3 major phases. Phase 4 will likely be tacked onto another one, but it's a minor phase. So phase 1, we're anticipating construction coming in and doing the condominium building and the pedestal as one phase. We will put a Texas gate for the trucks to drive over to knock the mud off the tires, provide construction parking, and lay down on site. The entire site will be fenced to prevent people from shortcutting through and to collect any garbage that blows off. Phase 2 will be the seniors building and townhomes on the construction east of the site, and that will give us on-site construction parking and lay down area here. Phase 3, we get to the next tower and pedestal. We'll have construction parking in this area, lay down, and the Texas gate remains to do mud mitigation. When it comes to phase 4, we will do off-site parking and bus the workers in. So the amendments to our DCMU district that we're proposing, under the current DCMU, the floor area ratio is 3.21. Floor area ratio, again, is how big you can build the building. It's 3.21 times the site area. We are amending that down to 1.9, which drastically reduces it from what's allowed in the current DCMU. Under standard DCMU zoning, the maximum height is 25 meters. There is an 80-meter Schedule F approved for Granite Park Village, and we're going to use a similar model for Riverbank. Our maximum height, that dark gray area, is a very small percentage of the site, is 50 meters, and then we go down to 40 in the hatched area, 25, 20, and 15. So the height schedule that I showed earlier will actually be attached to our rezoning application and will form part of the parameters in the areas that we can build. Minimum setbacks are 5 meters. We're proposing setbacks of 7 to 14 meters. Sorry about that. And then the minimum commercial is 25%. We are requesting a reduction in commercial of 6%. The zoning is a bit strange in the fact that the commercial is a minimum, not a maximum or anything, so it might be slightly more than that. But we feel that it's the 6% minimum gives us the confidence to proceed with what's going on, and it's a good balance for what we have on site. So the amendment to the area structure plan is residential to mixed use, and that's for 300 Orchard Court. 250, 230 is commercial to mixed use. And same with the land use districts. It's direct control to direct control mixed use, and direct control to direct control mixed use. I feel there's a lot of benefits to Riverbank Landing, and in particular this proposal. We use a lot less land per home. It's a very green way to develop. Net revenue to the city is about 1.6 million per year, and that is true net. The cost to maintain fire, police, sewer, everything extra has already come out of the revenue. So this is new revenue for the city to use as they see fit. It reduces the traffic impacts. We've already had the traffic study done by Bunt. You can see the reduction in traffic impacts. No one likes to put up with construction, so our commitment to Oakmont is no traffic through Oakmont. We'll do the townhomes there. We provide a greater mix of housing options available in St. Albert, everything from seniors housing, which they really are expressing a strong interest in, to microlofts, townhomes, and then condominium units. Boutique shops and services have the ability to thrive because there's enough people on site to support the services they provide. And then again, that outdoor use of the river valley, the amenities, the gazebos to get out of the rain, the fire to gather around in the winter. We just like to see a lot more activity in that river valley, really creating a live, work, play environment. And that's been consistent with our vision, right through day one. So it's what I have to present. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this application. And again, we remain open to all the suggestions that we have coming in, and the question and answer period is coming up next. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Dave. So if you would like to ask a question, please click on the raise your hand icon at the bottom of your screen. This will add you into the queue on my screen here in the order that you raise your hand. When it's your turn to speak, I'll state your first name and you will see a rectangular box pop up that states the host would like you to unmute your microphone. If you could then go and click on the blue unmute now button and you can begin speaking. If for some reason there's a delay in your response, we'll move to the next person, but put your hand back up and I will come back to you. In order to let a lot of people speak, we'll be trying to maximize 2 minutes per person for their speaking, and we'll do our best to address the comments and questions. So go ahead, if anybody would like to ask Dave a question, press that raise your hand button at the bottom of the screen. All right. So we will go to B. Fisher. Go ahead, B. Fisher.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for all of this. Just a quick question. I noticed, especially with respect to the summer solstice portion of the shadowing effects, just wondering if you had anything done after 3 p.m. because obviously due to our long summer evenings, some of Oakmont might be impacted by the later evening sun shadows. So do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, we do. It's these standard times are so restrictive. So we will have, a week or two, lots of time for comment. We'll have the complete video. So it'll go right from sunrise to sunset at summer solstice and the equinoxes. And you can stop at any time. It'll be available on our website. We'll also post its availability on our Facebook, and you can view it through YouTube. So you'll have all the information you want there. I apologize, it just wasn't ready today.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. We will move on to Jerry. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Dave, hi Rob. I have several questions, but I'm going to just ask a couple to begin with, and then I'll go back into the queue. You started off with the presentation that this is the second public information meeting, but it's not officially as such, is it? Because there was no letters to residents nearby or no newspaper ads and that type of thing. So that's number one question. And the second question, after the October 6th public meeting, you invited questions and comments after the fact for a period of a week or so. Will that be the case this time? And those are my questions for now.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, it's certainly a second public information meeting, but it is not a city sponsored meeting, if you will, or a city required meeting. It's just an information meeting. It doesn't fit anywhere in the mandated process, just an extra step. So you are right that it's not maybe official in the timelines, but certainly we opened it up and advertised it as best we could. The comments, feel free to submit them anytime. We are going to be submitting our application within, let's say, about the next 7 days. But that doesn't mean that if we hear a lot of comments or a lot of strong themes or things that we think are really good ideas, that we can't make amendments through the whole process. At some point, we just have to pick a point to start and put the application in, and then we'll refine it as it goes along. So there's lots of methods getting a hold of me. Feel free to continue to submit those comments, and we will listen to them. As well as all the previous comments, they will be bundled and submitted to the city.
All right. Go ahead, Richard. Oh, Richard Brooks is looking like he's using, I'm going to try something a little different here. All right, Richard.
But it looks like you're on mute, Richard.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. I was wondering if you could speak to the trees that are on the site right now. Do you have any idea of what percentage of them will be maintained and what percentage are going to have to go?
Okay. So if we're talking about the perimeter trees, those we have a pretty good idea of because we have those very big setbacks. So the only perimeter trees that we'll remove are going to be if we're having to put in utilities straight through. We're not running utilities around the outside of the site. It would just be an opening to put the utilities through, which would be, well, it depends on the utility, but it'd probably be about a 4-meter gap. And the rest of the perimeter trees stay. Now, if you look at the site where the old Holes family residences are, we won't be building that close to the river. We have to actually start back further than those houses. So all the trees from the single family houses that are on the site now down to the river, those remain. And they're a combination of setback, top of bank setbacks, and then that environmental reserve. The interior trees of the site, likely those will all have to go.
Yeah. Okay, good, thanks.
All right, we will move on to Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
Looks like you might be on mute as well, Dave. There we go.
Hello, Dave. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. My question revolves around the TIA done by Bunt. So the information you presented tonight is the current zoning versus the proposed zoning. I mean, what I would like to know is the traffic count as it stands today with 2 phases of Botanica there versus what it's going to be in the future with the site fully developed. Because as you know, we have a big problem with that intersection today with just the 2 Botanica buildings. And again, the information that you put forward is dealing with the peak hours, AM and PM. And I think what the residents in the city needs to know, and it's probably in the Bunt report, is what are the daily traffic volumes today in that area? And what will the daily traffic volume counts be after your development is 100% complete?
Yes. And some of that, we might just have to have a meeting just on traffic because it gets very technical. I do know on that report that the traffic on Boudreaux and Belrose has increased about 0.8% year over year. And it's been that way for about the last 7 years. But Bunt does have all the extra traffic that's attributed to our development, as well as forecasting the flows out to 2034. And they do say that the intersection today needs to be improved. even ahead of Riverbank Landing being completed. So the complete report is going to be in our application. It's something that you'll be able to get from the city websites. And maybe in a period of time, 3-4 weeks, when you had a chance to look at that, we should just do a traffic meeting and do it just to that.
Yeah, I think that'd be very important.
All right, I'll make a note of that. We'll commit to that.
Okay, good.
All right, and we will go to Andy.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Andy.
You said this video of this meeting is going to be put up on your website?
Yes, it will be. Yeah.
Okay, because it's just a little quick to follow everything. To the traffic, the numbers that you showed there, C2 and mixed use, both those columns, you would add that together to total those, the traffic in and out in the AM and in the PM. You've got the 340 in the morning,
Yeah,
175 under mixed use.
that's right. They are together, the entire site. Yes.
Okay, and I do like your idea of having a traffic meeting
Okay.
separate to that. So that's all I have right now.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, we will go to Jerry.
Yeah, hi, Dave again. Just to follow up on questions from Dave on the TIA. You said that TIA Bunt did a study based on this new proposal. When was that done?
Rob, can you help me out?
We got our draft last week and the
Yeah.
final draft yesterday or this morning.
Yeah. So
So
hot off the presses.
One of the things that was mentioned at the October 6th meeting that a new traffic study should probably not be done when COVID is on because that will have an impact on traffic itself. So I just wanted to put that out there.
The traffic, sorry, Jerry, the traffic counts were from pre-COVID. So
Okay.
they did the study now, but they actually did the road analysis before COVID hit last year.
Okay. Can you remind us who pays for these improvements to the intersection?
If there are requirements that the developer impacts the city, the developer pays. On this one, because the city already has the RFP out, I'm not sure. We may pay a portion of it, we may not. But in a standard process, if the traffic report says improvements need to be made because of our development, then that's a developer cost.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the TIA, was there any sections related to pedestrian safety? A lot of people use that intersection and I walk along there as well. And when you get to the little peninsula where the light standard is, and on one side, the traffic is turning right to go up Belrose, and then you got all the traffic going through Boudreaux. I guess that would be east to west, if you want to call it that. And the peninsula is quite small. And when there's like 4 to 6 people on there, it feels quite dangerous. I wonder if you are looking at that at all, and because that is a factor that seems to not be addressed as much as it should.
I know that there is just a section, it's so recent, but I do remember a section on pedestrian safety. What we are going to do is once we make this application, we will sit down with the city and the traffic engineer, and then we can go over all the recommendations in the report and see how the city intends to, how they want them included and who pays for what. So getting this application in and submitting the report is sort of step one, and then we take it from there.
Okay, and then the last question related to traffic, following up on Andy's question, your generated trips where you compared the current ASBP to the Bunt. The number of trips is generally a variable of population.
It's population, uses, housing type, commercial designations. There's a whole formula. They explain it in the report.
So it would, the comparison of generated trips with the current ASB versus bunt is in the report?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And when will that report be made available?
Well, we'll put it with our application. So we're
Okay.
hoping to submit right away. So in a week or two, you should have it.
Okay, I'll go back into the queue. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Okay, we will go back to Andy.
Okay, Dave, just to that comment Jerry made about at that intersection, I've identified to the city in a previous study that they've done that strip of sidewalk right along Boudreau from the Evergreen intersection going up the hill, that whole sidewalk in the wintertime can be quite dangerous because at times the snow plows throw snow up on that little sidewalk. And if there's any people walking, that snow makes it a little bit dangerous. And I have identified that to the city in a previous drawing to a study that they've identified, but I'd just like to add that comment that if there any improvement to that sidewalk could be made by the city, it would be quite wise from a safety perspective.
All right. We'll bring that up when we meet with them. There's going to be internal sidewalks on the site as well, and sort of tying into that stub of road that comes out Oakmont.
Yes.
So if you're an Oakmont resident, you will have an option, but obviously you're going to Aaron Ridge or something, it doesn't help.
Okay, good for that. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we are going to Mel.
Hi, David.
Hi.
You all right? Yeah, I just got another question, or maybe not a question, but something that needs to be considered when you're looking at the safety in the area. There are city buses and school buses that stop, especially the school buses that stop on the north and south sides of Belrose in front of the development there. And if you're coming out of the Evergreens of Aaron Ridge, the bus stop is right there. To come out of that community, cut over 2 lanes to make a left turn at the lights is very difficult. So I think that busing is an issue there, that the fact that those buses are stopping at those two on both sides of the street there, letting kids off at that corner.
Okay. We'll bring that up and see if it's something we can do on our side. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and we will go to Sandy. Go ahead, Sandy.
Dave, you've indicated that you're going to have some of the turning bays extended. Can you tell me where the land is coming from to be able to extend that? What are you stealing from to get additional turning bays?
Oh yeah, there's not much there, Sandy. And the report kind of identifies that. Like we'll take what we can, but it's not a big extension. It would add a few vehicles, but it's not a lot. You're right.
Okay, so is it taking the northbound turning bay into the Evergreens? Is it shortening that? Because then it's going to cause more traffic congestion northbound on Belrose.
You know, again, it's hot off the presses, but it's when you're on Boudreau turning on to Belrose, there's that left-hand turning lane there that can be extended, but it can't be extended much or it's going to run into the lights at Evergreen. I believe that's the one they're referring to.
Okay, and my second question, I believe at the last meeting you had indicated that you were making a commitment to giving up some of the land for future roadway development. Is that still in the cards?
Yeah, it is. That's something we need to talk more with the city and Bunt about. The traffic needs to work for our site. So we've just got this report. We're going to go through it in detail ourselves. And we have to be certain that we do everything we can to make it flow. If that possibility is there, it's got to be there. Yeah, our commitment is still there for that.
Can you identify where you're anticipating that might be?
you know, it's just so brand new. You know, we're thinking the double left on Evergreen, thinking the north side, but the report is new. The whole process starts with us submitting the application. Then the city has all the information. We can really roll up our sleeves and get to work. And we will follow up with that traffic meeting where I'll have a lot more details.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to EMM.
Go ahead.
Hello, Dave?
Hi.
Hi. So I just want to recapture on the note that another speaker just spoke on. Safety again, traffic and school buses. So my kids, like pre-COVID, they used to, for the drop-off, living in Erin Ridge, they used to get dropped off in front of Botanica. And then they have to hike across that intersection, that very busy intersection, albeit that there's lights there. But because of how heavy the traffic is, people want to cut in and out, especially during rush hour, or maybe they can't see, they want to go to whatever, some of the shops quickly. But my kids have witnessed accidents there more than once and have come home going, Mom, we just about got run over. So I know in some of the other neighborhoods, they're talking about traffic calming, and you see those orange barriers, constructed around some of the city streets so that there's less of a right of way for pedestrians to cross. It doesn't seem like we can do that, nor do I want that, because you would impede traffic. But the issue of traffic safety, also crossing across back over, I mean, that's just a concern. Do you have any comments on that?
I don't, other than the comment's been brought up a lot. So obviously it's a big concern for a good chunk of people. Let us get the application in and we'll sit down with the city and get some solutions worked out.
Yeah, I'd hate to see an accident there. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we'll go into a caller in from last four digits, 1424.
Yes, Rob, it's Grant.
Hey,
Hi.
Yeah, thanks for catching my flag on just asking for me to have a chance to speak for a moment. Two points, Dave. You referenced the request for proposal that the city released some time ago. I've been through that document, had discussions with the transportation manager for the city. And by and large, that project and that initiative that they're proceeding with is to deal with safety. It's all about collision avoidance. And the things that were being considered, my understanding was that it wasn't going to address the efficiency of the operation of the intersection. And in actual fact, the steps to improve safety could actually reduce the efficiency of that intersection. So that is just one thing I just wanted to raise, because that's what that project looks like to me, as opposed to helping the operation of the Belrose-Boudreau intersection. The second point I'd just like to raise is various speakers have talked about the Evergreen-Belrose intersection, and I would really like Boudreau Development to consider that there's the Evergreen Erin Ridge community across the street. And there's 130 single-family dwelling homes up in this area. We have one road to go in and out of, and that's the intersection. We have no other choice. And some callers have mentioned, or speakers have mentioned, that when you pull out, and if you have to cut over 2 lanes, it's difficult. Add in the fact of having 2 dual turning left turning lanes coming out of the Botanica Riverbank landing. The potential of suffocating and choking off the Evergreen homeowners' access and use of that intersection is problematic. So 2 points I wanted to raise was the RFP and the Evergreen Belrose intersection. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Grant.
Okay, we will go to Kathy.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm just wondering if you can tell us how many people have attended the meeting this evening?
Rob, do you have a number on that?
Yeah, we peaked at 39 attendees and 3 panelists, and we are now down to 36 attendees, 3 panelists.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we will go to Jerry.
Yeah, hi again, Dave. You mentioned that the number of dwelling units is at 360. I was disappointed not to see a reduction in that at this session. That's still about 1.5 times, just a little over 1.5 times the total size of Botanica that we're looking at. So that's one comment. Next, regarding the height schedule, you have, as I understand it, 25 meters in one building is the height along the riverbank, and adjacent to Botanica is that the 50-meter height building.
Yeah, that's right, Jerry. So the right adjacent to Botanica, well, not right adjacent, that the 20 meter wraps around a bit, but the
Okay.
dark area on the height schedule is 50 meters,
Okay.
and then it drops down to 20.
So how high, how many stories is 25 meters generally speaking? 7 to 8 or so.
Yeah, 7, something like that. But it because the site slopes, we're measuring right from the very bottom again. So it depends on where you're looking. But from the riverside, we roughly use 3, yeah, 7, something like that.
So the Botanica from the riverside is 10 stories. So we're looking at 7 stories. So it's still pretty much a wall in many senses along that side, because you have a 7-story building for much of the length, and then topped off by a 15-story building beside it.
Yeah.
So
We'll look at 6 stories, Jerry. I just did the calculation. So that is 6 stories is about the same as the amenity space in Botanica.
But it's still quite, when it's all put together, because it's still quite lengthy, with capped off with a 15-story building tower overlooking or blocking the river valley, is somewhat of a concern, large concern. And the last point I want to make about the height schedule is that the 15 meters next to the residences at Orchard Court is still, in my opinion, an inadequate transition from those properties. And again, this being a winter city, in much part, the renderings that you showed have these existing trees, looks like quite the forest, but in the wintertime, when those trees don't have any leaves on them, that 15-story building will look quite intrusive to all of those residents. So I'm a little bit disappointed that there's not a better transition and compatibility with the residences there.
Okay.
You feel that 4 meter is it's too big a step up with a 9 meter setback? Okay. Yeah. All right. I've got your note. Oh, good. Thanks, Jerry. You're back. Yep.
Yeah. And so those are my comment. I knows the time.
Okay.
All right, I think we've got 2 hands up left. We've got EMM and Julie. We're at 8 o'clock. So I think what we'll do is we'll take those last 2 questions, and then we'll close the meeting. So EMM, go ahead.
Hi, Dave. One more last question regarding servicing. I know I had a chance to look at the servicing needing the underground water, sanitary, and storm from the last proposal, and it seemed like there was cross-lot servicing. What I mean by that is, you know, it seems like the new Riverbank landing will be tying into the lines that are currently servicing Botanica. There may be a storm that goes through there, although I understand that there's not an easement in place yet for the outfall going out to the river, but that again proposes concern. So if there are issues regarding anything, water, sanitary, storm, or any other utilities that might break because of, you know, freeze thaw and snow and freezing that causes damage, who will pay for these? Like, will it be one property suing the other? Will the residents be responsible for any of those kinds of underground? It used to be illegal, but but will the residents of St. Albert be responsible for any maintenance issues?
Oh, you sent me an email, a very technical email, didn't you, Em?
Yeah.
It's
I
treated
appreciate
so.
your answer. By the way, thank you for what you did send, but it was, you know, there was not an answer. I know that, you know, really, I wish I could help you do that because it's not a legal way of servicing and you're going to get yourself in trouble. And same with Botanica, if it is similar for this new development.
Can you send me an email just saying servicing details and let me dig into it? It's there, but I don't have the details at my fingertip, and I'll give you an answer. Because I don't think we're cross-lot servicing, but I can't say for certain today, and I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. So if you would send me an email just reminding me, I will get you the answer.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Oh.
Yep.
Cross-lot servicing is servicing from one separately titled property into another. Even if you own both of them, you know, any owner can sell one separately, and therefore you would have cross-lot servicing. So just to think of it that way, that's actually what's occurring there.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll send you that email. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, and we will go for our last question of the evening to Julie. Go ahead, Julie.
Hi there. I know you know that my big hill is the traffic right now. I'm very concerned with the density. Lately I've noticed, oh, and I do think a traffic meeting would be a good idea just to be able to break down the study. Lately I've noticed on the Evergreen intersection is cars are coming out of the first exit of Botanica, not the lights, but the one before the lights, closer to Belrose. They're coming out of that and then they're going into the Evergreens, pulling a UE to go the other way on Belrose. And I can just see with an increase in traffic, people not wanting to wait at that line, even if you have another turning lane, they're going to go through that first exit closer to Boudreaux, go right up the hill to Belrose, pull the UE and Evergreen to go back the other way, because there's nothing, the people that are going to go up the hill on Belrose live there. Other than that, there's no reason to go up that hill. So my concern is because the traffic isn't addressed, the density is still, you're wanting high density, it's going to increase the amount of vehicles that are pulling UEs where my kids walk. That's my comment.
Okay. All right. We'll certainly have that separate traffic meeting once we get a few more details, and let's discuss all those issues.
Okay.
All right. Well, that will conclude the evening. There are no more hands up. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. As Dave mentioned, within the next 48 hours, we'll work to have the presentation up on the Riverbank Landing website. And have a great evening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.